When the universe finally loses patience, even silence becomes a weapon. And Chosen One, that silence right now is not protecting them, it's hunting them. Now imagine this for a moment. Chosen One. Picture a courtroom where the accused think the judge has stepped out. They laugh, they mock, they throw stones at the innocent. But they don't realize the judge was never gone. The universe was sitting in the shadows, taking notes, recording every cruel word, every sharp dagger disguised as a joke, every trap they laid. And now the gavel is in the air, ready to slam, and it won't land on you. It will land on them. Because they didn't just hurt a person, they tortured innocence itself. And when innocence bleeds, the universe responds with fury. Here's a fact that screams the truth. In every culture across history, harming the blameless was seen as the worst crime. Ancient tribes banished those who turned against their own without cause. Old legal codes demanded equal punishment for false accusations. The same harm you tried to inflict would return to you, doubled. Even in modern psychology, it's proven that cruelty toward the innocent creates a ripple of guilt and paranoia that never stops eating at the offender. They think they walk away free, but their mind becomes the prison, and the universe becomes the warden. And thank you, Chosen One, for being here. Don't forget to pay this message back by simply pressing the like and subscribe. Help spread this message to more souls, because it's the responsibility of all of us to spread the light. And thank you again, Chosen One, for being part of this mission. You're not just listening, you are part of a force that shakes the world. Now, back to our topic. Chosen One, the fury of the universe isn't random, it's targeted. It builds slowly, like a storm gathering strength on the horizon, ignored by those who think the sky will never change. They thought your silence was weakness. They thought your kindness was permission. They thought your patience meant you'd accept the role of the victim forever. But what they didn't see was that your silence was evidence, your kindness was recorded, your patience was ammunition. The universe collects these things, holds them like arrows in a quiver, and when the moment arrives, it fires them all at once. Let's be clear, they tortured you not just with actions, but with intent. They schemed behind your back, twisting truth into lies. They demanded respect while showing you none. They paraded false honor while dragging your name through the mud. And still, you stood in your innocence. You carried yourself with grace, refusing to let them mold you into something ugly. That's why the universe is furious. It doesn't rage for just anyone. It rages when a soul who deserved peace was handed poison. It rages when a chosen one is mocked, betrayed, cornered, and left for dead, yet still rises without venom in their veins. Think of it like this. A fire set in the forest may burn trees, but when it reaches the ancient oak, the storm itself gathers to put the flames out. That oak is you, Chosen One. They tried to scorch you, but instead they summoned a storm they can't escape. And the storm doesn't forget. It hunts. It returns. It brings consequences that feel like fate itself, knocking at their door. History is filled with examples of what happens when the innocent are punished. Societies crumble when justice is denied. Movements rise when truth is silenced. Even science shows us balance is never optional. Energy cannot be destroyed. It transfers, it rebounds, it returns. That's karma, explained in the simplest terms. What they put into you is now circling back with 1,000 times the weight. They tried to bury you alive, but the soil they threw on your name became the dirt covering their own reputation. Chosen One, I need you to hear this clearly. The universe isn't only furious, it's protective. It's drawing a line in the sand, the same way tides rise to drown ships that think they can conquer the ocean. These people are about to realize they aren't untouchable. They demanded honor on their name while spitting on yours. But honor isn't earned by loud mouths, false smiles, or fake titles. True honor belongs to those who stand strong in truth while everyone else bends to lies. And that's you. You're the reason their masks are slipping. You're the reason they're restless at night. You're the reason the universe is rearranging the chessboard in your favor. Let me ask you this. How long can someone torture an innocent before the weight of it collapses back onto them? How many knives can they throw before one ricochets and cuts their own hand? The answer is already written. The universe always balances the scales, and the heavier they load it with lies, betrayal, and cruelty, the harder it crashes when it swings back. Their biggest mistake was thinking the universe doesn't care, but the universe does care. It cares fiercely about energy, about balance, about truth. And when they targeted you, they made themselves enemies of balance. That's why their downfall isn't just coming, it's guaranteed. Some will lose their reputation, some their peace of mind, some their so-called allies, and some may even face complete isolation, because betrayal always eats its own circle from the inside. Chosen One, this is where the story shifts. This isn't about your suffering anymore. It's about their unraveling. You survived what was meant to destroy you, and in doing so, you activated a force far greater than their schemes. They thought they were judges, but now they are the ones on trial. They thought they were powerful, but now they are powerless. And as the universe takes its stand, the only thing left for you to do is watch as the truth unfolds. So today, let this sink in. They didn't just hurt you, they provoked the fury of the universe. And when the universe is furious, no apology, no excuse, no manipulation can save them. The gavel is about to fall, and when it does, the sound will echo through their lives forever. And Chosen One, before we go deeper, let me pause and thank you for standing here with me in this moment. What you're about to hear isn't just another message, it's a mirror of what you've lived through, proof that the universe has been keeping track, and a reminder that every ounce of pain they put you through is about to be repaid with justice. Don't let this truth pass by without sealing your place in it. Drop a comment with the number 111 if you're ready to see the universe deliver honor back to your name. And if you want to help carry this mission forward, consider showing love to the team behind this voice. Every small gift, whether it's a simple like, a share, or even your support through a super thanks, pushes this light further into a world that tried to bury it. Chosen One, this isn't just about listening, it's about standing together in force, refusing to let the innocent be silenced. So lock in, because what comes next will open your eyes to just how furious the universe truly is at those who tried to destroy you. And now, let's step into the heart of it. Number 1, they didn't just lie about you, they tried to murder your name in cold blood. The worst kind of violence isn't done with fists, it's done with tongues sharp enough to slice a reputation to pieces. Chosen One, let's call it for what it really is. They didn't just lie on you, they attempted to kill your character, bury your honor, and choke the air out of your identity. This wasn't harmless gossip. This wasn't just words. This was psychological warfare. They staged a trial without evidence, gave you a guilty verdict without proof, and celebrated your downfall before the universe even had its say. That's not slander. It's attempted murder of the soul. Now imagine this for a moment. Someone takes your photograph, shreds it into pieces, and pastes it back together in a distorted form. They then hold it up to the world and declare, "This is who they are." That's exactly what they did with your name, your story, your essence. They cut it apart and reassembled it into something unrecognizable, hoping the world would accept their counterfeit version as truth. But here's where they miscalculated. The universe doesn't work off counterfeits. Energy doesn't lie. And while they thought they were painting you as a villain, they were actually sketching their own reflection. Some of you may wonder, why does the universe even care about lies? Why does it matter what people say? Here's the fact they overlooked. Words carry energy. Neuroscience confirms that language doesn't just communicate, it programs perception. Whole societies have been built or destroyed on the back of lies. Wars have been started with whispers. People have been executed because of false accusations. So when they lied about you, they weren't just bending the truth, they were weaponizing it. And once truth is weaponized against the innocent, the universe takes it personally. Their lies weren't casual, chosen one. They weren't slips of the tongue. They were intentional daggers designed to pierce your identity. They didn't just say, "This person offended me." They declared, "This person is dangerous, unworthy, untrustworthy." That's not conflict, that's assassination. There's a difference between someone arguing with what you did and someone trying to erase who you are. And what they attempted wasn't an argument, it was erasure. But here's what they forgot. You didn't choose yourself. You didn't crown yourself with integrity. The universe already stamped you with worth before their mouths ever opened. Which means when they spoke against you, they weren't just speaking against flesh and blood. They were speaking against balance, against order, against universal law. And no one wins that fight. Not kings, not empires, not mobs. Think of it like this. Imagine someone barges into a courtroom, pointing fingers, screaming accusations, while the judge sits silently, watching. They think silence equals agreement. But what they don't see is the judge writing every word down, waiting for them to finish digging their own grave. That's exactly what's happening here. You didn't need to defend yourself because the universe was recording the evidence. Every smear, every whisper, every false testimony was logged. And now those words are not your burden. They're their chains. Let's answer the question running through your mind. Why did they do it? Why was destroying your name so important to them? Because your presence exposed their lies. Your light revealed their shadows. Your innocence made their guilt undeniable. And rather than confront their own corruption, they tried to rewrite reality, hoping to erase you instead of fixing themselves. It's cowardice in its purest form. It's the kind of cowardice that history always punishes. You see, chosen one lies are parasites. They can only live by attaching themselves to a host. And they attached themselves to your story because your truth was too powerful on its own. They thought if they could cover it with filth, no one would recognize your brilliance. But parasites always weaken their host before killing themselves. And that's what's happening to them now. Their lies are devouring them from within. That paranoia they feel, that anxiety at night, that's the price of trying to murder innocence. Let me give you a hard fact. People who lie about others end up trapped in their own web. Psychologists call it cognitive dissonance. They have to keep telling more lies to cover the first one. They have to remember every version of their twisted story. And eventually, they slip. They contradict themselves. They expose their fraud. Sooner or later, their entire image collapses. And guess who's standing untouched when the dust clears? You, the same one they tried to destroy. Chosen One, the fury of the universe is not just about what they said, it's about the arrogance with which they said it. They strutted around, smiling, confident, as if they had rewritten destiny itself. They thought they were smarter than truth, stronger than balance, untouchable by consequence. But arrogance is the most expensive drug. It makes you feel high until the crash breaks every bone in your spirit. And their crash is coming. Not because you wished it, but because universal law demands it. Picture a boomerang. They threw lies at you with all their strength, thinking it would knock you down. But lies are energy, and energy always returns. That boomerang is already turning in the air, and when it comes back, it won't just hit them. It will knock the wind out of their entire identity. The same words they used to destroy you will now be used to expose them. That's justice, that's balance, that's fury in motion. So, Chosen One, hold this truth tight. They didn't just lie about you, they committed the greatest crime possible against innocence. They tried to stain what could not be stained. They tried to dirty what was already clean. And for that, the universe has issued a verdict, not delayed, not distant, active. Every false word they uttered is now working as a seed of destruction in their own life. You don't have to lift a finger. The scales are already tipping. This isn't just payback. This isn't even revenge. This is correction. This is the universe re-establishing balance, restoring honor to your name while stripping theirs bare. And once that happens, the world will see clearly who was the liar and who was the innocent all along. So let this be your strength. Their lies cannot kill you, but they will kill themselves. Their smear campaign cannot bury you, but it will bury their reputation. And the fury of the universe, it's already roaring. Their time of false glory is over, and your time of vindication has begun. Number 2, they didn't just mistreat you. They laughed in the face of the universe's decision. The most dangerous pride is not in thinking you're better than others. It's in thinking you can outvote the universe itself. Chosen One, let's be real. They didn't just mistreat you, they mocked the decision of the universe itself. That's what separates this from petty jealousy, simple envy, or casual dislike. This wasn't about your personality, your choices, or even your mistakes. This was about the fact that you were chosen and they were not. And nothing burns a bitter heart more than watching the universe lift up someone they had already dismissed as unworthy. Now, imagine this for a moment. Picture a job interview where the manager overlooks the loud, flashy candidate who came in rehearsed, polished, and full of empty promises, and instead hires the quiet one in the corner, the one who spoke with truth instead of performance. The rejected candidate storms out, furious, saying, "How could they choose them over me?" That's exactly how your enemies felt. You weren't what they expected. You weren't what they wanted. And because you didn't fit their image, they believed you couldn't possibly be the one selected. But the universe isn't swayed by theatrics. It's moved by authenticity. And authenticity is what made you untouchable. Here's another quote to cut deep. The universe doesn't choose the loudest voice. It chooses the truest soul. That truth alone exposes why they couldn't stand you. They weren't angry about what you did. They were angry about what your existence revealed about them. You exposed their rejection without even trying. Every time you walked into the room, your quiet strength reminded them that they weren't the chosen one. And instead of accepting that fact, instead of humbling themselves to learn from it, they turned their envy into an attack. And let's address the question running through your mind right now. Why couldn't they just leave you alone? Why couldn't they just accept that the universe picked you and move on? Because pride doesn't bow. Pride doesn't surrender. Pride is delusional enough to think that if enough voices shout against you, somehow the universe will change its decision. They actually believed that hating you in groups would cancel your calling. That's how blind arrogance becomes when people think they can override balance itself. Imagine this second metaphor. Think of a referee in a championship game making the final call. The losing team throws a tantrum, screams at the referee, stomps their feet, and rallies the crowd against the decision. But no matter how much they rage, the scoreboard doesn't change. The decision stands. That's you, chosen one. You represent the final call, and their tantrums are nothing but noise against what has already been sealed. Here's another quote for them to choke on. Your rejection of me doesn't erase the universe's acceptance of me. They needed to hear that, because every insult, every smear, every attempt to sabotage you came from the belief that their disapproval carried more weight than truth. But it never did. The universe doesn't negotiate with bitterness. It doesn't reconsider based on tantrums. It chooses, it seals, and it stands firm. And let me give you a fact that will satisfy your soul, chosen one. Psychology has long proven that when people feel overlooked or bypassed, it activates feelings of deep shame. That shame, if not healed, turns into rage against those who were chosen instead. In other words, their war against you was never about you. It was about the wound inside of them that your presence exposed. You didn't break them. Their own ego broke them. You were just the mirror they couldn't bear to look into. Now imagine this third metaphor. A farmer goes out to plant seeds. He overlooks the tall weeds, the shallow soil, and instead chooses a small, unlikely patch of ground. That patch grows into a harvest so abundant the others can't compete. The weeds scream, "Why them? Why not us?" But the farmer doesn't answer. He simply waters what he chose. That's exactly what happened with you. The universe chose you in silence, grew you in silence, and now your harvest is undeniable. Their noise doesn't matter. Their envy doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is the decision that was already made. And let's answer another question. What proves they were never chosen in the first place? The proof is in their reaction, because when someone truly carries humility, they don't mock the decisions of the universe. They respect them. Even when they don't understand, they honor the process. But these people couldn't honor it. They mocked it, resisted it, and tried to tear it down. And that's the clearest evidence of why they were passed over. Their own behavior confirmed their rejection. Here's a fourth quote to seal this truth. A heart that attacks the chosen only proves it was never fit to be chosen. That's the reality, chosen one. You became their threat, not because of anything you said, not because of anything you did, but simply because of who you represented. You were living proof that the universe does not bend to their ego, their titles, or their expectations. You were the contradiction that exposed their performance. You were the evidence that truth wins quietly while lies scream loudly and burn out. So what happens now? What happens to people who mock the universe's decision? Imagine a storm rolling in. The wind bends the trees, the lightning cracks the sky, and the rain washes away everything that isn't rooted. That storm is coming for them. Not because you wished it, but because mocking balance, mocking order, mocking truth is the fastest way to invite destruction. They thought they were mocking you. They weren't. They were mocking the wisdom that chose you. And when people mock wisdom, they eventually collide with correction. And here's where the fury of the universe becomes undeniable. They insulted the decision. They spat at the process. They tried to overturn what cannot be overturned. And now their exposure will be public. Their downfall will not be hidden. Just as they mocked you in front of others, they will be corrected in front of others. That's how the universe restores balance, openly, undeniably, and with precision. So, Chosen One, let this fuel you. Their rejection was never the final word. Their disapproval was never the verdict. Their mockery was never the truth. You carry the seal of the universe, and no crowd, no mob, no hater can cancel that. They are already proving their unworthiness by the way they treated you. And you are already proving your strength by the way you endured them. The universe is furious, not because you begged for protection, but because balance defends what is right. And the simple fact is this: they didn't just mistreat you, they laughed in the face of the universe's decision. And that crime has consequences far heavier than any of their fragile egos can handle. Their season of mocking is over. Their laughter is turning hollow. Their unity in hate is unraveling. And your vindication, it's already here. Number 3, they wanted your ruin, not reality, because your innocence screamed their guilt. The guilty never hate the guilty. They hate the innocent who reminds them of what they'll never be again. Chosen One, let's strip it down to the bone. They didn't care about truth. They craved destruction. They weren't hunting facts. They were hunting your blood. That's what made them dangerous. Your innocence wasn't just overlooked, it was despised. You weren't a threat because you caused chaos. You were a threat because you stood untouched by it. That alone made them seethe. Now imagine this: a group of thieves pointing at the one honest man in the room. His clean hands are proof of their dirty ones. He hasn't stolen a thing, but his very presence makes them panic because his innocence exposes their corruption. That's exactly why they wanted you gone. Your calm, your peace, your refusal to play dirty. It wasn't weakness, it was evidence, and evidence terrifies the guilty. Here's the fact they never admitted. Your integrity convicted them louder than any judge could. You didn't have to shout, clap back, or defend yourself. Your quiet existence alone wrecked the image they'd worked so hard to fabricate. Every time you stood tall, their masks slipped. Every time you refused to break, their lies cracked. They didn't need you to fall just for revenge. They needed you to fall so their illusions could keep standing. So they united, they plotted, they exaggerated, they invented drama. They weren't content to bruise you, they wanted to erase you. They thought if they could smear your name long enough, they'd bury your influence. But here's where they miscalculated. Innocence doesn't need defense. It has the universe on its side. Ask yourself this: why were they so loud? Why so dramatic? Because guilt is restless. Corruption needs company. Broken people can't tolerate a spotless mirror, so they try to shatter it. But breaking the mirror doesn't erase the truth. It only proves what they already feared. Chosen One, understand this. They wanted blood, not truth. But the universe saw every trap, every whisper, every false charge, and now their own words are the rope tightening around their necks. They wanted you cancelled, but it's their credibility collapsing. They wanted you erased, but it's their names dissolving into dust. Your innocence has already won. Their guilt is already screaming louder than your silence ever did. And the universe is demanding justice, loud, undeniable, unstoppable. Number 4. The universe stayed quiet, not to excuse them, but to stack the evidence against them. Silence isn't absence. Silence is surveillance. Chosen one, they mistook quiet for weakness. They thought the universe's stillness was permission, that nothing happening meant they were safe. But silence doesn't mean blind. Silence means recording. Every sneer, every backhanded compliment, every whispered lie, it wasn't ignored. It was archived. The universe wasn't absent. It was collecting receipts. Now imagine this, a security camera in the corner of a room. The thief thinks no one is watching because no alarm goes off. They get bolder, take more, brag louder. But the red light was on the whole time. Every crime captured, every angle recorded, every second saved for the trial. That's exactly what happened with you. They thought their cruelty would disappear into thin air, but instead, it's evidence sealed tight, waiting to crash down at the right time. Here's a fact. In psychology, delayed consequences hit harder because they strip away denial. Immediate punishment allows excuses. It wasn't that bad. I didn't mean it. But when judgment comes after time has passed, the guilty can't lie to themselves anymore. That's why the universe didn't strike fast. It was letting them believe their own delusion, so when the correction arrives, there's no escape. You may have asked yourself, why didn't the universe stop it sooner? The answer is brutal but true. If balance had intervened early, people would have thought you survived because you were rescued, not because you were strong. They would have dismissed your resilience, painted you as fragile. Instead, you endured the full storm and stayed clean through it. And now, no one can deny your strength or their corruption. They laughed at your silence, but it was your silence that became the loudest evidence against them. While they celebrated your supposed downfall, the universe was building a case so airtight that not one of them can wriggle free. And here's what they'll soon realize. When the universe finally responds after silence, it doesn't exaggerate, it doesn't miss details, and it doesn't delay. Justice lands with precision. Chosen one, the judge is standing now. The receipts are open. The same mouths that mocked you are about to choke on their own words. Case closed. Number 5. They thought they were testing you, but they were the ones under examination. The true test isn't how much pain you can take, it's how much cruelty they reveal while you endure it. Chosen one, they really believed this was about pushing you to your breaking point. They thought if they poked your wounds long enough, if they pressed your triggers just right, you'd snap. They mistook your silence for weakness, your patience for fragility, and your kindness for naivety. But what they didn't know is that you were never the one on trial. They were. Now imagine this. Students walking into an exam room, laughing at one person sitting quietly at their desk. They mock, they cheat, they scribble nonsense, thinking the quiet one is being tested the hardest. But when the results come back, it's revealed they weren't judging the quiet student. They were the ones being graded. That's exactly what happened here. They assumed you were the subject, but you were actually the mirror, reflecting who they really were. Here's the fact. You didn't have to prove your strength. The universe already knew you were built for this. The silence wasn't meant to measure your endurance. It was meant to expose their corruption. Every cruel word they spat, every false smile they wore, every trap they set became evidence against them. They thought they were orchestrating your downfall, but all they did was write their own verdict in real time. Ask yourself this: what did they really prove? Did they show compassion? No. Did they show restraint? No. They showed that when given the chance, they'd weaponize kindness, twist vulnerabilities, and choose cruelty over humility. That's not a test of you, it's a revelation of them. Imagine a courtroom where the guilty laugh, thinking the cameras are pointed at you, but the footage reveals every one of their crimes instead. That's what's happening now. Their mockery wasn't documenting your failure, it was highlighting their own. Chosen One, the fury of the universe, is not about whether you survived. It's about the fact that they failed every chance to rise higher. They revealed their jealousy, their control, their bitterness, and now the mask is gone. What they thought was your breakdown was really their breakdown under observation. And now judgment is coming, not because you begged for it, but because they earned it. Number 6. They tried to sacrifice you for their comfort, but now their blood debt is due. Cowards don't heal their wounds. They throw their pain onto the innocent and call it justice. Chosen One, they treated you like a lamb to be slaughtered, as if destroying you could somehow cleanse them of their own filth. They convinced themselves that if they broke you enough, mocked you enough, isolated you enough, their guilt would shrink and their conscience would quiet. But cruelty dressed up as cleansing is still cruelty. What they did to you wasn't holy, it wasn't noble, it was calculated evil. Now imagine this: a village dumping all their trash at one house's door, saying, "If this one bears the weight, the rest of us will feel lighter." That's exactly how they treated you. They made you the scapegoat for everything they couldn't control, everything they couldn't admit about themselves. Your silence, they twisted it into guilt. Your humility, they painted it as arrogance. Your strength, they called it rebellion. They piled their shame on your name and pretended it was purification. Here's the fact they never faced. There was no redemption in their actions, only ego and envy. They didn't want healing, they wanted a target, and they picked the most dangerous one of all, the innocent, the one who forgave, the one who never fought dirty, the one who stayed pure in the middle of their filth. That's why you terrified them, because your innocence revealed their darkness. But here's where they miscalculated. This time, the universe isn't rewriting your pain as their salvation. Your suffering isn't their sermon. Your silence isn't their shield. What they did to you is now their bill, and every cruel word, every false alliance, every trap set is stamped with a price. The universe doesn't forget debts, it collects them. Imagine this: a ledger filling with every lie, every betrayal, every hidden knife. The pages close, the seal snaps shut, and the collector knocks. That's what's happening now. They thought they were free, but their freedom was nothing more than delayed judgment. Chosen One, know this: the same pain they tried to erase is now the spotlight exposing them. They bought their comfort with your destruction, but that comfort has expired. Justice isn't on the way, it's already here. Their sacrifice failed, and now the bill is due in full. Number 7. They cashed in on your ruin, but now the universe is demanding a refund. A reputation built on another person's destruction is nothing more than a house of cards. It looks tall until the wind of truth blows. Chosen One, they didn't just try to damage your name, they used it like currency. They took your pain and traded it for attention. They turned your struggles into their storyline, your missteps into their jokes, and your healing into a punchline. Every time they dragged your name, they gained sympathy. Every time they humiliated you, they felt more powerful, and the world, for a while, clapped along. But all of that influence was counterfeit, borrowed, not earned. Now imagine this, a thief pawning off stolen jewelry. They walk around flashing wealth, pretending it belongs to them, until the real owner shows up with the receipts. That's what's happening now. They built their status on the fragments of your reputation, but the universe has opened the books, and everything they bought with your name is being repossessed. Here's the fact they never considered. Credibility gained through dishonor is credibility that collapses under its own weight. Truth has a stubborn way of resurfacing, and while they thought they buried it deep, it's rising now, cutting through their lies like sunlight through fog. People are waking up. The same crowd that once cheered their false stories is going quiet. The applause has died. Why? Because fruit doesn't lie. Their outcomes are rotten. Their peace is gone. Their alliances are crumbling. Ask yourself this: why are their masks falling now? Because the universe doesn't allow fake crowns to last forever. Their influence was nothing more than theater. They painted themselves as heroes and martyrs while stomping on your name. But now their script has burned out, and the audience is turning their eyes back to you, the one they tried to erase. Chosen one, you don't need to vindicate yourself. You don't need to fight for your reputation. Silence is your strategy, and it's working. Because while they were performing, the universe was preparing a reversal. The same stages where they mocked you are now the stages where their shame is being exposed. That's not coincidence. That's balance restoring itself. Their borrowed fame has expired, and your honor is being restored in full. Number 8. The universe was never undecided. It was just letting the scales load before they crashed. Patience isn't doubt, it's strategy. The universe lets liars talk long enough to hang themselves with their own words. Chosen one, you may have thought the silence meant uncertainty, as if balance itself was weighing who was right and who was wrong. But the truth is, there was never a debate. The universe was never neutral. Every lie, every scheme, every handshake hiding a knife, it was all seen from the very beginning. Nothing slipped through the cracks. Nothing was overlooked. The silence wasn't confusion. It was calculation. Now imagine this: a courtroom where the judge doesn't interrupt the liar. He lets them ramble, stack their falsehoods, contradict themselves, and dig deeper with every sentence. By the time they finish, their guilt is undeniable, their own words sealing their fate. That's exactly what happened here. The universe wasn't giving them victory, it was giving them rope. And the more they pulled, the tighter the noose became around their credibility. Here's a fact. Psychological studies prove liars overexpose themselves the longer they talk. They can't keep their stories straight, so time becomes their greatest enemy. That's why the universe let them drag it out. They mistook patience for approval, thinking no lightning meant no consequence. But what they didn't know is that truth doesn't rush. It waits until the perfect moment, then strikes with precision. Ask yourself this: what was really being measured? Not your worth. That was never in question. What was being weighed was how much injustice the universe would allow before tipping the scales. And now, chosen one, the weight has reached its limit. The scales are crashing. The verdict isn't delayed. It's here. not emotional revenge, but calculated justice. The kind that strips fake crowns, dismantles false power, and exposes every alliance built on lies. There's no rebrand strong enough to save them now. No empty apology or "we've all made mistakes" speech can erase the damage. The energy they poured into destroying your peace, your name, your soul, it's circling back, multiplied. And not because you begged for vengeance, but because patience has ended. Chosen One, know this: the silence that once protected them is about to condemn them, publicly, completely, permanently. Number 9. They weren't fighting who you were. They were panicking over who you were becoming. Enemies don't attack what you are. They attack what they fear you're about to become. Chosen One, their war against you wasn't really about the present. It was about the future they could already sense rising in you. They saw the version of you healed, elevated, unstoppable, and that terrified them. They knew if you ever stepped fully into your truth, their lies would collapse under its weight. That's why they came at you so hard. They weren't fighting the now you. They were trying to strangle the tomorrow you before it was born. Now imagine this: construction workers trying to tear down a building before it's finished, hoping no one ever sees how tall it could have stood. That's exactly what they tried to do. They launched rumors, twisted truths, and manufactured drama, all in hopes of assassinating your credibility before your platform could rise. They thought if they buried your reputation early, people would never witness your fruit. Here's the fact: insecure people always panic when they sense greatness. Instead of preparing themselves, they try to eliminate the threat. But Chosen One, they miscalculated. Every trap they set only became bricks in the stage. The universe was building beneath your feet. Every betrayal became evidence of your resilience. Every lie became fuel for your rise. They weren't burying you. They were planting you. Ask yourself, why did they move so quickly? Because deep down, they knew your potential was undeniable. They knew once you stepped into your true strength, you'd expose them, not just as liars, but as frauds, hiding behind false humility and fake authority. That's why they panicked. They weren't defending themselves, they were delaying the inevitable. Now the reversal is here. The future they feared has arrived. Your rise itself is the rebuttal. Your success is the clapback. Your existence is the judgment. You don't need to argue because your growth has already delivered the verdict. And the most brutal part: your elevation doesn't just honor you, it condemns them. Watching you thrive after all the dirt they threw is the loudest proof that their lies never had power. Chosen One, nothing terrifies them more than the fact that you've become undeniable. Number 10. They mistook your restraint for weakness, but that mercy was the rope around their neck. Mercy is never weakness, it's a countdown, and the arrogant never hear the ticking until the clock strikes. Chosen One, they thought you didn't fight back because you couldn't. They looked at your grace, your composure, your silence, and convinced themselves you were powerless, scared, or broken. But your silence wasn't submission, it was strategy. It wasn't weakness, it was restraint. You weren't sparing them because they were untouchable. You were sparing them because you understood timing. You knew this wasn't your fight. It was the universe's case to close. Now imagine this: a lion lying in the grass while the hyenas laugh, convinced his stillness means defeat. What they don't realize is that his patience is calculation. He knows when to strike, and when he moves, there's no warning, just devastation. That was you. They mistook the lion's calm for weakness, when in truth, it was discipline. Here's the fact they never understood. You had the power to expose them. You carried enough truth, enough receipts, enough evidence to burn their entire facade to the ground. You could have humiliated them in the same way they tried to humiliate you, but you chose not to. Not because you lacked the strength, but because you had the wisdom to know the universe's justice hits harder than human revenge ever could. Ask yourself this: why do the guilty mistake mercy for weakness? Because they confuse delay with denial. They think no immediate consequence means no accountability. But mercy is not approval. It's space. Space to repent, to change, to make things right. And instead of using that space, they used it to double down, to dig deeper, to boast louder. All they really did was shovel their own graves with pride. Chosen one, that's why the silence has ended. The mercy has lifted. What's coming now isn't just punishment, it's clarity. The same people who cheered them on will start questioning their every move. Their alliances will crumble. Their words will backfire. Their own masks will betray them. Because when mercy expires, exposure begins, and exposure always leads to a fall. They weren't unbreakable, they were only being spared. And now that protection is gone, you never needed to destroy them, you just needed to outlast them, and your survival has sealed their fate. Number 11. They mocked justice as absent until the delay became their death warrant. Arrogance always mistakes silence for absence until the silence breaks and drowns them. Chosen one, they swore nothing would happen. They laughed at your tears, mocked your faith in balance, and paraded their cruelty like it was permanent power. They threw your name around boldly, convinced the universe had turned a blind eye. When no lightning struck, when no doors slammed in their faces, when you chose not to fight back, they got comfortable. They mistook delay for safety. They mistook patience for weakness. Now imagine this: a storm gathering on the horizon. The sky goes dark, the air grows heavy, but there's no thunder yet. The arrogant walk outside, dancing under the clouds, mocking the stillness, saying, "See? Nothing's coming." But when the first strike hits, it's not a whisper, it's a roar that shakes the ground. That's exactly how the universe moves. Judgment doesn't show up to spook, it shows up to shift. Here's the fact they never understood. Delay isn't disinterest, it's build-up. The universe wasn't ignoring their lies, it was letting them stack higher. Every extra insult, every added betrayal, every recruit they pulled into their schemes became another brick in the weight that would eventually crush them. They thought they'd beaten the system, but all they did was compound their own sentence. Ask yourself, why do the guilty get louder in silence? Because they think no response means no record. They don't realize the silence is evidence gathering, patience stacking, justice loading, and once it tips, there's no room for excuses. That's why the weight wasn't for them, it was for you. So that when the scales finally crashed, no one could say you caused it. The verdict would be undeniable. Now the thunder is rolling in, their laughter has died, their confidence has twisted into panic. They never expected the universe to respond this way, not quietly, not slowly, but decisively. The same delay they misread as protection has become the multiplier of their downfall. What they thought was safety was actually sentencing. Chosen one, the storm has landed. And this time, there's no escape, no rebrand, no clever excuse. The silence they mocked has turned into a roar that ends them. Number 12. Your silence wasn't surrender. It was the evidence that sealed their sentence. Silence is not weakness. It's the strongest testimony when the judge is already listening. Chosen one, they mistook your quiet for defeat. They thought because you didn't clap back, you had no case. They believed your stillness meant powerlessness, when in reality it was your sharpest weapon. Your silence wasn't surrender, it was legal strategy. Not in the shallow courts of public opinion, but in the higher court where truth cannot be bribed or silenced. Now imagine this, a courtroom where two sides are arguing. One side screams, interrupts, throws accusations like knives. The other sits still, calm, almost unbothered. To the crowd, the loud side looks convincing. But to the judge, every outburst is evidence. Every lie is documentation. Every exaggerated claim is sealing their guilt. That's exactly what your silence did. It let them convict themselves in real time. Here's the fact. Sometimes the loudest argument is made by refusing to argue at all. Every time you chose peace over retaliation, you weren't losing, you were submitting exhibits. Every insult they hurled, noted. Every trap they set, filed. Every attempt to bury your name, recorded. You didn't need to yell. Your restraint spoke louder than anything you could have said. Ask yourself this. Why does restraint cut deeper than retaliation? Because it proves character. Anyone can lash out when cornered. But holding your ground in silence forces the universe to step in. And that's what happened here. You cried, yes. You broke in private, yes. But you didn't curse them publicly. You didn't fight dirty. You held your dignity, and that was the very proof that tipped the scales in your favor. Now the case file is complete. The silence that mocked you has become the silence that vindicates you. The verdict isn't being debated, it's finalized. Your enemies thought your quiet disqualified you, but the universe used that same quiet to qualify you. And now, chosen one, your vindication isn't just emotional, it's legal, it's justified, it's written. They thought silence meant they won, but now silence is the reason they've lost everything. Number 13. They tried to erase you, but the universe is etching your name in gold. You can tear pages out of a book, but you can't stop the author from rewriting the story stronger than before. Chosen one, they thought they had the final word on you. They tried to erase your presence from conversations, scrub your name out of memory, and bury your truth under layers of gossip. For a moment, it looked convincing. People turned cold. Doors shut. Whispers spread. Your character was questioned, but they forgot one thing. The universe holds the pen, and no counterfeit editors can stop what's already authored. Now imagine this. Someone taking a can of spray paint to a mural, convinced they've ruined it forever. Then the artist returns, restores the design, and overlays it with gold, making the vandalism part of the masterpiece. That's exactly what's happening with your story. They didn't ruin it. They gave the universe the chance to highlight you in ways they could never control. Here's the fact. Your name isn't just being restored, it's being elevated. The very lines they tried to erase are becoming the reasons you're honored. Every lie is being flipped into proof. Every attempt to bury you is becoming the soil for your rise. They thought the chapter was closed, but all they did was create a pause. And now the story is resuming, with your name embossed in gold. Ask yourself this. Why are they so uncomfortable now? Because they don't get to edit this part. They don't get to spin it, footnote it, or water it down. All they can do is watch as the truth writes itself publicly, undeniably, permanently. The pen is dipped in justice, the ink is soaked in honor, and the revisions are unstoppable. Chosen One, this isn't ordinary vindication. This is a rewrite. Your life isn't just being corrected, it's being crowned. The same crowd that questioned you will now witness the very chapter they swore would never exist. And when they read it, they won't just see survival. They'll see triumph etched in gold letters that can't be erased. They thought they ended your story, but all they really did was set the stage for the most glorious chapter yet. Number 14, they tried to dismiss you. Now the universe is forcing their applause. Disrespect shouted in public can't be repaid with whispered apologies in private. Chosen One, they thought they could get away with it. They mocked you out loud, dragged your name where you couldn't defend yourself, and convinced others to turn against you. Then, behind closed doors, they thought a half-hearted apology or a guilty glance would be enough to balance the scales. But the universe doesn't work like that. What was broken in public must be mended in public. Anything less is unfinished justice. Now imagine this, a thief stealing your crown in the middle of the town square, humiliating you in front of a crowd. Later, they sneak into a dark alley to hand it back quietly, thinking no one needs to know. Would that satisfy justice? No. The restoration has to be loud, undeniable, and seen by all. That's exactly what's happening here. The very mouths that mocked you will have to validate you. The same voices that once spread lies will have to admit the truth. Here's the fact. Repentance isn't just feeling sorry, it's making it right. And because they discredited you in places where your presence was erased, restitution means their correction has to echo in those same spaces. They don't get to dishonor you loudly and then repair it with silence. The balance is public, or it isn't balance at all. Ask yourself this. Why is this necessary? Because honor is currency. They stole yours to fund their false image, and now repayment is due. The applause they gained off your name is turning into their debt, and the only way to pay it back is to point back at you and say, "We were wrong." Not in whispers, but in shouts. Not in private, but in the open. Chosen One, this isn't humiliation, it's correction. It's the universe making sure the scales aren't tipped halfway. Either they restore what they stole with their own mouths, or the universe will dismantle everything they built on lies until only your vindication remains. Either way, the outcome is the same. Your honor will be restored, loudly, clearly, undeniably. They tried to dismiss you, but now they're being forced to applaud. And listen, Chosen One, let this be clear. What was stolen is being restored. What was mocked is being honored. And what was buried is rising in gold. You've endured, you've survived, and now the universe itself is demanding your vindication. The story isn't ending in shame, it's closing in glory. If this message hit your spirit, press the like button if you haven't already. And if you're still not part of this family, make sure to subscribe right now, because your journey deserves to be heard, honored, and celebrated. Stay strong. Your honor is unstoppable.